This is the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, and you are listening to Potsy and Tino on the Potsy and Tino Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Pots and Pans Network brings to you its tag team champion of the world. I'm going solo tonight. It's Rob Potsy Pochek. My normal host with me is normally Tino Gray. He's on vacation this week, so he will not be here. I'll be going it alone, talking about everything pro wrestling from the last week. And there was a lot to talk about. But want to go ahead and give a shout out to Adam's House Cat for the wrestling song. It's our theme song, has been since we started this shindig. And yeah, we're hopping on a little bit earlier than we had been the past couple weeks. So I'd say I apologize for hopping on earlier, but we're on at 8:25 instead of 8:30 just because, well, I don't have to wait for anybody and they don't have to wait for me. So anyway, as you can see on the screen right now, I am trying to sell my new book. Are you sure you want to make comics? It's how's it going, Michael? It's $10 on there. The ebook should be up shortly, but there was some troubles with trying to get the ebook made, and I'll go ahead and I'll explain that because I thought it was stupid. Amazon denied the ebook because the category that I claimed that the book was for was comic books and graphic novels, because it legitimately is about whether or not you would want to make comic books and graphic novels. To me, that kind of sounds like that's the category it should go under. I also put it under pop culture, and I also put it under something else. But it was the comics and graphic novels one for a book about comics and graphic novels that got denied for the ebook version, but the physical copy of the book was made available. So I went ahead, I ordered some copies for myself, just so everybody knows. It started out as like number 348 in pop culture. So I thought that was pretty cool. It doesn't show any sales or anything yet, but again, you know, it'd be kind of neat if we get some people to pick it up, especially if you ever wanted to know some of the insides and outsides of the comic book world. Going good. Weekend was good. All that. Yeah, man. Lots of pay-per-view stuff went on this weekend, and you know, not just Money in the Bank, but obviously NXT also had Heat Wave, which was a stellar show as well. I'll get into it in just a couple minutes. But I wanted to talk about what's up with me first. Obviously, the first thing that's what's up with me is just search Rob Pochek on Amazon. You can pick up my new book. It's only $9.99. Couple other things that have been going on. It's almost solicitation time for a couple of books that I'm working on. Immortal Ultraviolet #2 and the Died Hard #1 are both going to be hopefully out by the end of the year. Immortal might be January, but Died Hard, because it obviously parodies a little bit of Die Hard. We kind of want that one out before the end of the year so people can buy it for Christmas, even though it is an Easter story. So with that, I was finishing up my covers for the two books. They're both due in, I guess, August 5th. So I wanted to hop on those and get them done kind of early. And I think I came up with two pretty good images for them. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'll show everybody my Died Hard image from my phone really quick. It's probably going to be pretty difficult to see, but we'll try anyway. So yeah, so this is the image for Died Hard, issue #1 that I drew. We'll have covers by Jay Hammond, who's actually the artist of the book. We'll have covers by Michael Adams. maybe Billy Parker, and there is one other cover that we will be doing that I am trying to remember the name of the gentleman. I believe it's Jason. But yeah, we'll have one other cover for it. But I also did a Sin City Blood version because the book is not going to be for kids. So yeah. Other things that went on. I mean, obviously we had the July 4th weekend. I didn't really do anything for July 4th. I went out. I hung out with a couple friends, and then I Ubered to a place to sing karaoke and have some fun. But then I had to work at 8 o'clock the next morning, so I actually went home, I believe, kind of early, but was was not in the best shape for the next day. I'll admit. Still got my work done and everything, but wasn't in the best shape. This weekend, yeah, this weekend was pretty much about the pro wrestling events that went on. Saturday, it's funny because Saturday I went out, hung out with a couple people, and then Sunday morning I woke up at like 6 o'clock in the morning. So I was like, what better thing to do than watch Money in the Bank, even though it was, an East Coast pay-per-view this time. So I don't remember what our statements were for them or anything, but when it came to Money in the Bank, Drew McIntyre in the first match of the night ends up winning the men's Money in the Bank match. I was a little disappointed by this because he was the only guy who had been world champion that was in that match. So I kind of felt like that was a disappointing take on who wins. The match itself was fine. I think most of them got away with only maybe minor scrapes. Nobody really injured, which is, in a ladder match is always something to be proud of. And I felt like it went kind of how you thought it would. You expected you expected Jey Uso and LA Knight to get up to the top and be in that position, and all of a sudden, while they were in that position, they both got knocked out of the ring, and Drew McIntyre just did what Drew McIntyre, like when Drew McIntyre, he did this thing where he lawn darted a ladder right into someone's face, and it blew me away because it just looked violent, like straight up violent. I don't know how you guys felt about it, but yeah, it to me it looked straight up violent. It looked like it hurt a lot. It looked like it caught the guy right in the jaw. And then Drew went ahead, climbed up, and just grabbed the Money in the Bank, and all he kept doing was saying, I told you," and it was like, okay, whatever. I don't even remember what match was next because I don't think it was the Damian Priest match. You know what? I'm going to try to look it up really quick, but I know I'm going to look it up. Michael, you're absolutely right. And for those out there, Michael had this to say about it. He said you could have put Drew and CM Punk feud without the Money in the Bank case being part of it. Totally agree. It's one of those things where I really felt like, okay, I'm gonna give my real opinion, but I have to wait until I actually talk about the other match. Because it really I'm looking for it on Bleacher Report because normally Bleacher Report has all the ratings, but I don't see it. All right, here we go. So like I mentioned, they didn't do anything special in the pre-show that I knew about. Oh, so the men's Money in the Bank match happened first. Andrade and Hayes, they said, were standouts, which I thought was interesting. Uh, and I mean, they were. Andrade actually looked the part. Um, they did a sunset flip into a power bomb spot that was just insane looking. Um, the next matchup was Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker, and the match didn't go how we expected. We all kind of stated that we expected Braun Breaker to win, and I guess what this match does is it gets Braun's first loss out of the way from somebody that, it's funny because like before WrestleMania, Sammy couldn't win a match, and then since WrestleMania, Sammy hasn't lost a match. So I guess he really turned his way of doing things around, which, great, but still I'm still kind of baffled by it. Braun Breaker looked great. Sammy hit him with the haluva kick, and then pinned him. Looked like he wasn't even going to pin him, but then rolled him over and pinned him. So Sammy, and maybe that was we're doing this in Canada, so we'll surprise people by having Sammy win. Okay, I can be satisfied with that, but it was still kind of odd to me. The crowd was chanting, "This is awesome." Bleacher Report gave it a B plus. I'd say it was a B plus match. It really went well. Next thing up, which I guess we'll be talking about quite a bit over the next 12 to 14 to 18 months, I guess. 16 months, 17 months, 17 months, is John Cena came out. Trish Stratus invited him out, and he came out and announced that he's going to basically do the same thing that Kobe Bryant and Derek Jeter did, which, if you're in the audience, say hello. Doing this solo tonight, so I need as many people actually like chatting with me as possible. Michael's been good so far, but I could always use more chatting. John Cena came out, announces his retirement, but he announces that it's going to be a retirement tour, which I think is great because obviously at 47 years old, he's doing a lot more movies. He's doing a lot more TV. He even mentioned that he's filming Peacemaker season 2 right now, which is great because it means that we'll probably get Peacemaker 2 within the next 6 to 8 months, which I'm excited about. Maybe even before Superman comes out. It's crazy to think that John Cena's been wrestling for the WWE since like 2002. It's even crazier to think that we're now 22, and it'll be 23 years after that, by the time that John Cena finally decides to hang up the boots. But he said specifically that WrestleMania is not his last match, and he's got right now, they said between 30 and 40 dates lined up for him for 2025. And he said that he's basically going to make it a 1-year tour, which almost makes me wonder whether or not he's putting the movie career on the side so he can do it. Although I guess if he's only doing 30 or 40 dates, it's basically doing TV every week. So it's interesting. I don't know. How do you guys feel about it? Like the idea that John Cena has even said he's not going to be one of those guys that comes back 15 years later to get back in the ring. I don't know if that was a dig towards Steve Austin. Wouldn't that be interesting if they brought Steve Austin back to finally have a match against John Cena? I don't know if that was the case. Right now, he's already flat out said he will be at the Royal Rumble, he will be at Elimination Chamber, and he will be at WrestleMania. Obviously, he's going to stay healthy for that. I wonder if like all of a sudden he ends up with some fluke injury or whatever. If John Cena says, okay, well we'll push it until next year, or if he just basically has to come out and go, okay, I'm done. He's been pretty healthy most of his career, except for like the neck injury. I think he also had like a bicep injury at some point, and probably multiple knee surgeries because all pro wrestlers end up having knee surgeries, it seems. But the real question that's coming up now, and Michael or anybody else in the audience, go ahead and chime in here. Well, do you think, with him being a 16-time world champion and him already mentioning the Royal Rumble, the Elimination Chamber, where obviously the winners of both of those get the 2 matches at WrestleMania, since he's already mentioned those, does it sound like he will be A, in the Royal Rumble, and B, if he doesn't win the Royal Rumble, in the Elimination Chamber, so that he can actually have an opportunity to become a 17-time world champion and be the guy that finally usurps Ric Flair in that essence? Right now I kind of feel like if they're smart, they will do a run where John Cena finally gets that singles victory that he's been missing for over 2,000 days, which is over 7 years now since winning a singles match. So I wonder about that. I'm okay with him winning one of the world titles. You have 2 of them now. It's okay to have John Cena actually win a world title. It's okay to basically let him run with it for a little while. If he's got more dates opened up and he's got a spot where he's going to be on TV 3 or 4 times in a month, then I'm okay with it. I'm okay if he has 3 or 4 times in 2 months and he does two matches as the champion and then finally drops the championship. Or wouldn't it be really interesting if WWE decides, because next year is the obvious Netflix year of WWE television, what if they decided that they were going to broadcast the day after Christmas show from Madison Square Garden, and John Cena goes in with a chance to win the world championship or retire, and he ends up winning the world championship and then retires. So you have all these options and availability things. And obviously, again, because you now have the world championship and the universal championship again, you have more opportunities for him to have those matches. Personally, I think John Cena will be in the Royal Rumble, and here's why. John Cena likes getting to say that he wrestled Jerry Lawler and he wrestled The Rock and he wrestled everybody in between for the most part. But now there's so many people out there that he does not have the opportunity to wrestle. If he's only going to make 30 or 40 appearances, he's not going to wrestle every night. He's probably going to do 10 matches. Some of those are going to be tag team matches. Some of those are going to be specialized matches, so I could see him being in the Royal Rumble. I could even see him being one of the first 2 entrants in the Royal Rumble. And then from there, getting to face as many of the people in the ring as possible before finally getting thrown out as one of the last remaining people. Or after everybody's in the ring and you still have like 8 guys left, I could see him then getting tossed out. That would give him the opportunity to face as many new age people as possible. And here's what I'm thinking now, guys, and everybody else out there, guys, girls, everybody. What if John Cena is the one that beats Gunther for the world title? Like somehow the crowd energy powers him up enough, in almost the style of Hulkamania, that brings John Cena back so that John Cena can actually beat Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. Like, to me, that's just one of those things where I could totally see that. He'll be in the Rumble and win the champ. Again, Michael, I'm interested in the scenario. Obviously, right now, WWE is so hot that any show that Cena is booked for is going to sell out. But he's already said he's going to do the PLEs, right? So we know he's going to be at those. He doesn't have to win at any of those. He could win on a SmackDown randomly on USA just because they want to pump the ratings up on it. Because obviously SmackDown moves to USA in October. And wouldn't that be interesting if he says that his last match is actually going to be on day 1, 2026? But I think he likes the idea that it's the quarter century year and everything. So I think he's really set on finishing up his career in 2025 and not even playing with that a little bit with the January 1st, 2026. So I don't know about that, Michael. I don't think that's going to happen. But I could see him winning the title and retiring with the title. I could see, all the odds stacked against him, blah blah blah, everything else. But I do think that we're at the end of Cena. Obviously, I mean he's now officially said it. The merch pretty much says it. I mean, it says the farewell tour, or the You Can't See Me tour. Boss Logic did a really cool piece of artwork that he posted on his social medias, and John Cena actually retweeted it, which I thought was cool. It was basically like the three fingers up symbol, but it was like disappearing or appearing. I don't know, because you could finally see him. Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, John Cena announces his retirement. We'll be talking about it all year, I'm sure. But then we got Damian Priest versus Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. And if you'd been paying attention to Monday Night Raw and even social media, Drew McIntyre, when he stated that he was going to win the Money in the Bank, said that he was going to cash it in the same night. And he did it the same way that Seth Rollins did it at WrestleMania. He didn't wait until the match was over. And this played a very important role because Drew McIntyre making it a triple threat match meant that it became a no disqualification match. So in terms of booking of the match, it made a really good storyline. It's just here, the result basically was CM Punk came down, hit Drew McIntyre with a chair, hit Drew McIntyre with the belt. Drew McIntyre came into the ring, ended up getting the South of Heaven chokeslam from Damian Priest, and Damian Priest wins the match 1-2-3. Now, yes, there's a lot of controversy because Damian Priest did not kick out of a move from Seth Rollins and basically laid there for what should have been a 3 count, but the referee only counted 2. What's up, Mr. Helios? We're just talking about Money in the Bank, so please chime in. I'm going it alone tonight, so I need people talking in the chat. I'm talking about the Damian Priest win at Money in the Bank. This match did 2 things. Michael's still talking about the John Cena thing a little bit. I might actually be a little bit behind in terms of how it's broadcast, but Priest wins the match. Like I said, there was controversy because, and Triple H even said it in the post show interview that he saw what everybody else saw, which looked like Damian Priest didn't get his shoulders up, so the referee should have counted 3. Triple H said he was going to have a talk with the referee about that. This is 2 botches in 2 PLEs for Damian Priest, it seems like. Although I don't know if this botch tonight or that night was the fault of Damian Priest or if it was someone else. Very well could have been the referee who did not make the right call by actually going through with the 3 count. But obviously there was storyline elements as to why that would not be the case. A lot of people seem to think that Drew McIntyre's music did not play on time, which would have caused the referee to stop his count and look over. Lots of different things could have went on with that. Lots of different things could have changed the way that the match actually played out. Again, CM Punk causes Seth Rollins to lose, which does a couple things. One, it wasted the Money in the Bank. You had 5 other guys in that Money in the Bank ladder match that have never been world champion that could have had a storyline instantly from that moment. So it eliminates the Money in the Bank from being something that the WWE has to deal with for a year, which could be something that becomes a much easier thing to play out. Obviously, we saw how long it took Damian Priest to actually cash it in. And of course, we'll talk about the women's Money in the Bank in just a minute, which I actually think the match was the best match of the night. So here we go. It also meant that Seth Rollins cannot challenge Damian Priest for the World Heavyweight Championship as long as Damian Priest holds the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, a lot of people think that Gunther is going to end up winning the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam, and that very well could happen. In fact, it looks like we're getting some dissension between him and Finn, so it'll be interesting to see where that goes. So yeah, I don't like the booking decision of Drew winning the Money in the Bank only to lose the Money in the Bank the same night. The good things that come out of it, though, we don't have to worry about a Money in the Bank on the men's side. Some people like worrying about it. This way, we don't have to sit there and go, oh man, you have to watch until the very end of the pay-per-view every time because, well, guess what? Now we know that there's no one on the men's side that can come running down and cause that craziness. Seth not being able to challenge Damian Priest also gave him another reason to hate CM Punk, which could lead to the WrestleMania match that we didn't get this year, possibly happening at WrestleMania next year after Punk's finally done with Drew McIntyre. And then, of course, Damian Priest gets to worry about Gunther at SummerSlam. And, like right now, it also probably means if CM Punk gets cleared, it's CM Punk and Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam as well. Although they suspended Drew McIntyre. So that was interesting in and of itself. We'll see what that ends up meaning. I'm sure it means that he'll come running down and beat somebody up tonight. I did like, and you guys probably noticed this as well, that the briefcase actually said Vought Industries on it, although Michael Cole called it Vout, which I really, really wanted to smack him. But the briefcase actually had Vought Industries logo on it, which I thought was great because they obviously had the tie-in with The Boys, Cody Rhodes being in the commercial for the new episodes of The Boys, as well as The Boys being the sponsors of the Money in the Bank matches, which I thought was pretty cool. All right. Whew. Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. I do know that I stated that I thought Chelsea Green was going to win, and Tino obviously said that Tiffany Stratton was going to win. And lo and behold, to both of our liking, Chelsea Green was the last one up on a ladder. Chelsea Green went through multiple tables. Apparently, she's now over her fear of heights, which she also went to whatever they call that needle building in Toronto, and Kathy Kelly did an interview with her, and they were on top of the building with restraints, and they both like dared each other to lean over and look out. And I got to tell you guys, I would not do that. Like, I am deathly afraid of heights. The craziest height that I will, obviously I'll get in a plane, but the craziest height that I will do is my parents' house. Like, it's a 3-story building, and every so often I have to go up to the top and actually like blow off their roof. So I look down and it's about 45 to 50 feet down, and I can't stand it. And as I get older, it gets worse. Like I just get more and more afraid of doing that. So yeah. Tiffany Stratton ends up winning. She was the obvious choice. It's not the wrong choice. It's actually a very right choice. Obviously, they started the whole she's befriending Nia Jax. Nia Jax is now getting a little bit cooler with her. They're doing TikToks together, different things like that. I do like that because every year now they do seem to bling out one of the Money in the Banks, like the briefcase. I do like that she's already said that she's going to make it pink and that she's going to bedazzle it. So I have a feeling by Friday night she is going to have a 100% Tiffy time Money in the Bank. And it's going to say Tiffy in the Bank, I'm pretty sure. So this easily was the best match of the night. I didn't recall any spots that didn't look right. I didn't see anything that looked out of place. The way that Io Sky fell off the ladder at one point and just it looked like Shinsuke Nakamura's entrance. when he does that lean back thing, and she just stayed there in that position. Oh yes, you're right, Michael. Michael just said that Zoe Stark took a beating, but she did, but she also gave herself some of the beating because she did that flip off the top rope and she hit her head on the ladder, like, um, and Chelsea Green to me was the MVP of the match. So even though she didn't win the match, she absolutely looked like a bona fide star in it, and I was just blown away. Like it was amazing and worked out really really well. Obviously, like I said, Tiffany Stratton wins the match. She came out at the post conference interview. She also immediately after went and saw Trish. Which wouldn't that be cool if we got Tiffy versus Trish? It's something like, and Michael, I'm sure you're down for that. At SummerSlam, maybe in Cleveland. Maybe hold it off. Maybe Tiffany Stratton versus Trish Stratus at WrestleMania. Trish always puts on a show when she shows back up, so I would love that personally. Um, and that would be the new guard versus the old guard, and it really would be the latest iterations of these amazing women that are putting on stellar matches against probably the best of all time, right? And with Tiffany's background of being a gymnast and everything, like I could totally see it. Naomi also looked great during the Money in the Bank ladder match. I don't want to discredit her because that split that she did between the two ladders was fucking phenomenal, and insane. Like to consider that. I think they said it was her fourth Money in the Bank match when for a lot of the women it wasn't. It was their first. Yeah, the top rope flip was nuts. Absolutely. So, as I mentioned, Tiffany Stratton wins. Bleach Report gave it an A minus. I would actually say it was an A, except for maybe the little Zoe Stark botch. And then we had the main event, which to me felt like it should have went on first. It didn't go on first, and it's obvious because they wanted to really cement the idea of Solo Sikoa as a main eventer, especially heading into SummerSlam, because all signs now point to Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa at SummerSlam for the Universal Championship, Universal Undisputed Championship. Sorry, it is the number one championship in WWE, no matter what anybody says. We didn't get Randy Orton dissension against Cody. Kevin Owens was fighting a very emotional battle. The whole card, the whole match, like Tonga Loa, who was the one that was not in the match, actually went ahead and did the low blow to Kevin Owens. And when he did that, he actually hit Tama Tonga in the head, which I thought was hilarious. And we got to see Jacob Fatu for the first time in a WWE ring. And that was, I mean, just thinking that these three guys weren't even considered for WWE until Triple H took over. And the fact that none of them decided to go to like AEW or TNA, or they obviously Jacob worked in MLW, but the other ones all worked in New Japan. So all things considered, it's pretty crazy that they got brought into WWE and never even thought about going to the other. Like I was pretty surprised by that. So, and then apparently there's two more Samoans that are supposed to be debuting. Zilla Fatu and Hikulea. So it'll be interesting to see if we actually get all of them showing back up, because then you just have an asinine number of Samoans in the WWE. Now, granted, I'm not going to discount what they do in the ring, because Jacob Fatu taking the Randy Orton the DDT off the second rope and just getting up and staring him down was pretty impressive. So, of course, it was at the beginning of the match, so you kind of expect him to no sell it there, but still pretty impressive. Overall, I would probably give the WWE's Money in the Bank this year a B minus, although I thought almost all the matches were B's or B pluses. I give it a B minus because of what they did with the men's Money in the Bank. Even if you had it get cashed in on Monday night, and it was Carmelo Hayes or someone else that ended up winning it, like anybody else winning it, Jey Uso, why not Jey Uso here? Like he's the most over guy. Obviously, Triple H has now basically shown that last year the most over guy was LA Knight. He didn't win Money in the Bank. This year he showed that the most over guy also did not win Money in the Bank. So I was kind of baffled by that decision. And yeah, we'll just state that. I was baffled by another decision in pro wrestling this week, by the way, and I'm gonna change the banner now to AEW before I go ahead and talk about Heatwave. Because on Dynamite last week, MJF turned heel again, and didn't just turn heel; he turned massively heel. Like you can't even dispute that it was a tweener move here. Now, granted, it's to put him up against Will Ospreay, which I anticipate at All In. Even though it won't be the main event, it'll be the two most over superstars in terms of the biggest heel and currently, I would say, the biggest baby face, especially with the way that they've been booking Swerve Strickland. And it's at Wembley Stadium in the UK, so having Will Ospreay in that match against MJF is just a moneymaker. I would assume that match alone will sell 10,000 tickets, especially since they said ticket sales they're more than half of what they were last year. I think they did 71,000 tickets last year, and right now they're at like 40,000, at least based on the numbers that I heard recently. So it's interesting to think about like the difference doing one show there and now all of a sudden doing a second show and seeing that steep decline in ticket sales. So that is what it is there. The other thing about AEW, I want to ask you guys out there about, everybody that's watching the show, if the gimmick that Chris Jericho was being done by anybody else, would it have already been canceled? Because I have to think that if they had Dustin Rhodes doing that gimmick, or hell, Kenny Omega doing that gimmick, and he was getting booed and told to retire the same way that Chris Jericho is, I can't imagine Tony Khan sitting there going, do we just keep this going? I can't imagine that at this point. So I'm not happy with that whole gimmick. It's annoying to me. Tino said a couple weeks ago that it reminded him of Eugene, and he's not wrong. And we know how that gimmick went over. He's basically yelling and sounding like a yelling Rain Man right now when he comes to the ring. And it literally, like, WWE under Vince McMahon might have come up with a gimmick like this, but under Triple H, there's no way they would have come up with a gimmick like this. So that's kind of how I feel about that. But now, last night, WWE Heatwave was another PLE that they did, NXT Heatwave. Then I'm trying to pull up the grades for it. And they started it with a JC Jane and Jasmine Nix versus Carmen Petrovic and Ariana Grace. And sorry, I'm getting a little parched. The match was fine. I don't really know what their stories are, and it seemed like they went with Petrovic and Grace as a way to get the hometown people over. Although I did like after the match, they're standing backstage with Ava and a interviewer, and um, the one is sitting there saying, "Wasn't it great to see how I did here?" And then the other one's like, "What do you mean? I did most of the work." And before you know it, Ava sits there and says, "Well, why don't we have you guys have a match about this?" Terrence, you're right. Going back to the Jericho thing, stating that Jericho will go 100% as a heel. I mean, Jericho will give 100% if he's babyface too. Let's not forget that the guy's going to give it his all. The question is whether or not when we're talking about him, whether or not like this should like I just don't think this gimmick would have even been considered if it was anybody else. Is all I'm saying about it. Uh, and Michael Turner says yes, it would have been canceled. So, I tend to think that I'm not the only one that thinks that. I know that Tino also agrees with me, even though he's not here tonight. But yeah. Um, so yeah, that they did a match during the countdown, which I thought was interesting. Something I noticed during the NXT Heatwave PLE that I didn't notice at Money in the Bank, though Michael Cole mentioned it at least once during Money in the Bank. Maybe it was just because of the replay that I watched instead of watching it live. But they mentioned at least once during Money in the Bank that they were going to go, if you were a Peacock Plus subscriber, so the no commercials one, they were going to go to showing us part of the documentary from The Rock and Triple H for WrestleMania. But I just noticed it went right back to the match. Whereas during Heatwave, which I watched live, so maybe somebody can answer me if this is the same way for both. When Heatwave was live, it was almost like commercial breaks, and they did make them. They did show parts of that documentary, and then they'd show different vignettes and things like that, just to pass time. And I don't know if it's because they don't want the NXT people going 45-minute matches or 30-minute matches, or what the deal was, because obviously the cards aren't super long typically. Though the crowd was really, really hot for NXT last night, from the same building they did Money in the Bank. So, North American Championship opened up the show with Oba Femi and Wes Lee. Oba Femi, the dude has only been wrestling for like 6 months. So Helios, when I'm freezing, am I freezing just in picture, or am I freezing on everything? Like, can you guys still hear me when I freeze? I'm hoping you guys can still hear me when I freeze. And I apologize for that. I've got Spectrum internet, and you all know my feelings about that. I would love to have Google Fiber, but not yet. Probably not going to be in my area for a while. Obafemi has literally only been wrestling for like 6 months. I think this is like his 10th or 12th match in 6 months. And dude is just insane. He's so good. In fact, he did a move to Wes Lee last night where he set him up for like Brock Lesnar's F5, and he threw him in the air, and Wes Lee spun like 3 times and hit the ground. So I joked that I called it an F10. And Terrence, it's completely fine. Tino's been stating that I keep freezing too, and we were trying to figure out if it was his internet or my internet, and obviously it's my internet. So, I wish I could say that I'll do something to get it fixed, but it says I've got a full connection. So it might just be the fact that I've got, it running on the highest possible settings in terms of trying to keep the video running, and it's just not buffering. And it is YouTube, so YouTube does have a tendency to not want to buffer. So we'll keep that there with that statement. But Chris Barrett actually joked with me on Instagram today that the Obafemi to Wesley F10 wasn't an F10, it was an F15. And I guess it's because he did 3 rotations in the air, but it was fucking impressive. And if you haven't watched it, you need to at least see that video. I know it's all over Instagram right now, but it's probably on like the WWE's X account or Twitter account, whatever you want to call it. Obafemi defeated Wesley by pinfall. Wesley now doesn't know what's going on with him, doesn't know where he's going with his career, you know, that whole thing. Oh, I want one more chance at my old championship. Oba is huge. Like, Oba is huge, but Oba is good for as new. And in fact, I want to state this about a bunch of people at NXT, because I think the next match that I'm getting ready to talk about, the next match I'm getting ready to talk about is 2 people without a lot of history inside a wrestling ring either. But to see how Obafemi has picked it up and taken it to like the next level, like I wouldn't be surprised if they pull the same thing that they did with Keith Lee, where Keith Lee became a double champ in NXT. I could actually see Obafemi becoming the NXT champion on top of the North American Championship. Next matchup was the Women's North American Championship. Basically, the WWE said, hey, we've got so many women in the NXT division at this point that we're going to go ahead and create another title belt. And now it's got them thinking about doing an Intercontinental and a United States Championship belt on the main rosters. So keep that in mind, that you might start seeing more women getting deeper matches and more matches on all the broadcasts, because, well, they might be introducing new titles. So I thought that this Women's North American Championship match was easily the best match of the night. Kalani Jordan versus Sol Ruka. Do you know the food critic names, Keith Lee? There's a food critic named Keith Lee? I did not know that. Not surprising that Wesley would look like him, though. The Kalani Jordan versus Sol Ruka match, Ricochet, of all people, you know, I joked that he was tweeting from his hospital bed after the beating that he took from Braun Breaker. But he tweeted out that the match looked like what him and Ospreay used to do. And I was like, I think that that's huge props for that situation. At the same time, I think it's funny that he thought that a women's match actually looked like what they did. But what he's basically saying, and Bleacher Report also gave it an A+. Since Ospreay was not in it, though, I'll say right now that Dave Meltzer would not be able to give it more than 4.5 stars, because he can't give the 1-point kicker, Ospreay kicker, to it. Just like the only way to get a 6-star match is to get that 1-point Ospreay kicker and the 1-point Kenny Omega kicker. That's the only way that you get a Dave Meltzer score over 5, by the way. So I would anticipate that if Dave Meltzer gives his ratings on the Sol Ruka versus Kalani Jordan match, he's going to give it no higher than 4.75 stars. He just will not, under any circumstance, because Will Ospreay is not in the match, so he can't give it those bonus points. But absolutely a banger of a match. The 2 women put it all on the line. Kalani Jordan ends up defeating her, maintaining the championship, and as a sign of respect, Sol Ruka actually pointed to Kalani Jordan when Kalani Jordan went up to hold the belt up, which I thought was a nice thing, because I could have seen them turning her heel right there and having her just beat her on the back so that way she gets another opportunity at the belt. And they did not go that route. They went the standard, like, here's a sign of respect, shaking hands, hugging, doing all that stuff. And apparently they both work out together in real life. So it was nice to see that these two women that between them probably had 2 full years of wrestling experience behind them, was pretty impressive to see what they were able to do in the ring. And the only knock that you'll hear about something like this and this kind of match is that NXT is rehearsed and practiced. Whereas obviously, if you're on the road every night, you can't rehearse and practice your matches unless you're wrestling the same people every single night. So I was blown away by the match. And I do not take anything away from them for having a match that they might have gotten an extra. Michael, who's not a 5-star guy? If you're going to say Will Ospreay's not a 5-star guy, I don't know what matches you're watching. But Dave Meltzer only gives 5 stars plus to him and Kenny Omega. But again, the match between Ruka and Jordan, phenomenal. If you haven't watched it, it was amazing to see what 2 so new wrestlers were able to accomplish in the ring. The next match was the NXT Tag Team Championship. Nathan Frazier and Axiom versus Chase U. We don't get this a lot in WWE programming anymore, but this definitely seemed like a filler match while still having something on the line. It was a tag team title match. Frazier and Axiom ended up still winning the match, even though they hinted at dissent between the two of them pretty much the entire night. And you know, now it's going to have people questioning Chase U based on the fact that he didn't want Rich Holland there with them in Canada for the match. So the team that was not supposed to have any dissension suddenly is also going to have dissension with them. Match was really good, by the way. Like, Axiom and Frazier, when they're in the ring, they are fun to watch and they are really good technicians. Chase and Duke, they work really well together. Like, I could see, even if they split up Chase U, I could see them coming back and actually doing a gimmick together at the main roster level. And Bleacher Report gave the match an A-. So like another one to take a look at. The next matchup was Roxanne Perez, the women's champion, versus Lola Vice. Lola Vice has been on a bit of a roll recently, beating the likes of 2-time NXT women's champion Shayna Baszler in an underground match. Obviously, she fought in Bellator. Now she's in WWE in NXT, learning the ropes. And fun match. Solid B plus ish. There was, right at the end of the match, Roxanne Perez goes for the pop rocks and she botches it, which I have a feeling is because Lola Vice is so much bigger than her. But Roxanne Perez, being the heel that she is right now, grabbed her by her straps and dragged her back to the middle of the ring to then do pop rocks again. And the second time went off without a hitch, pins her tight, 1, 2, 3, match is over. Roxanne Perez becoming a real force to be reckoned with at like 4'9.25". But so much talent. And it's nice to see when Booker T isn't just being like a babyface color commentator, but you can tell that he's got dad vibes when it comes to Roxanne Perez, because he was her head trainer. Got her picked up by the WWE, and then he became the NXT commentator after that. So all in all, like that dichotomy seems to work really well. And then they all night long they showed like these Twitter posts from everybody, and most of them were about like the 4th of July weekend and everything. That was all fine and dandy. But then you had the four-way dance, which was Javon. Where is this? Javon Evans, Ethan Page, Sean Spears, and your champion Trick Williams. And this match was a lot of fun to watch. The amount of chemistry between Sean Spears and Ethan Page is just fun to watch. And it wasn't always chemistry of them working together. It would be something where like Sean Spears would get spun around after Trick Williams would give him like a super kick, and then Ethan Page would spin him around again, and then he'd catch another super kick. It's just like one of the moves. But here's where it got interesting. At the end of the match, Sean Spears is up on the ring apron from the outside. Evans is on the inside. Ethan Page is standing almost face to face with Evans. Trick comes to give his finishing high kick, hits Evans, so Evans falls down. Sean Spears gets out of the way, falls off the ring apron. Trick ends up turning and kicking Ethan Page with the same kick, and Sean Spears grabs Trick Williams by the legs. Ethan Page falls on top of Evans. 1, 2, 3. 3 matches into his NXT career, if I remember the math on this correctly, Ethan Page, who couldn't win a championship in AEW, is now your NXT heavyweight champion. And I loved it. The booking decision here is a really interesting one because yes, there's a lot of places they could go with Ethan Page. They could run all 4 of these guys back again if they wanted to. But Ethan Page has been more than solid since coming into NXT. And by the way, he's saying all the right things about NXT as well, because earlier this week he was asked about his experience in both AEW, Ring of Honor, and NXT, and he said he went from a place that had that was like anarchy backstage to running a well-oiled machine. Or to working for a well-oiled machine. And while working for the well-oiled machine, he said it's night and day, and it's so much better of an atmosphere. Which, I'm going to be honest with you. When somebody says that, it means they weren't happy. Look at CM Punk. CM Punk has been talking about how well-oiled the machine is. And I think I said either last week or the week before that CM Punk needs that. He didn't know he needed that until he didn't have that. Ethan Page, coming up through the indies, then coming up through the AEW system, as long as he was one of Cody's boys, he was probably fine. As soon as he wasn't Cody's, as soon as Cody was gone, people like Ricky Starks, people like Ethan Page, they aren't being used and utilized anymore. So I could totally see that being part of the reason why he's so much happier. Same with Sean Spears. Sean Spears obviously is one of Cody Rhodes' best friends. And that's why he made the move. And it's interesting because, they obviously made the move and they went to NXT. They didn't even make it to the main roster yet, but yet they're already being used on a consistent basis, which is something they were not getting where they were. Final words on the NXT Heat Wave. I thought it was a better show than Money in the Bank. And obviously Bleacher Report also thought the same thing because they gave the entire show an A-. They gave a B+ to Money in the Bank. So again, we're talking minuscule number differences there. But in actuality, I think that NXT Heatwave was a better show. And granted, that could be because there were 5 championship matches that they were playing with. Could also be because all the young stars just wanted to really show out because they got to see a really good PLE the night before. So a lot of different possibilities there. A lot of different things went on. I apologize for all the ums tonight, by the way, folks. Normally I don't do that because I normally have all my thoughts being filtered through me and Tino. Do want to remind everybody that we won't be doing a show next Monday because that's Tino's birthday. But the plan right now is to do a show Sunday night. So probably the same time, between 8 and 8:30 to start. Probably go an hour and a half to 2 hours because obviously Tino will want to talk about some of this stuff that he didn't get to talk about today. We'll obviously have a lot more in terms of the information on MJF and Will Ospreay. We'll hopefully know who Swerve Strickland's we'll be one step closer to knowing who Swerve Strickland's next opponent at the All In pay-per-view will be. We've already said that we think it's going to be Danielson. So lots of cool stuff to look forward to. Tomorrow night on Tuesday, it's going to be really interesting to see what NXT does with the men's heavyweight championship. Because obviously with the match ending in controversy, Trick Williams is supposed to get a rematch. We'll see if he does. We'll see how they plan that out. I didn't like how they got to a 4-way dance to start with, but it ended up being one of the ultimate opportunist things. So it worked out really well for Ethan Page. And then of course tonight we're obviously here, but as soon as I'm off of here, I'll be watching Monday Night Raw and trying to figure out what they're going to do with this Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins situation for Money in the Bank. And we may, I don't think we will, the way that she was talking about it on Saturday night, but we may see Tiffany Stratton already with the Tiffy in the Bank. But if we don't, we'll have to wait till Friday to see it. But again, expect it to be all Barbie dolled up and ready to go there. But now it's with WWE, it's straight on to SummerSlam. So it's going to be a heck of a buildup, because we've obviously got Damian Priest versus Gunther, and we've got Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa like on the horizon. So we got a lot of cool stuff to look forward to. And obviously, like we've all already been saying, that we kind of think that Roman Reigns will be coming back at the end of SummerSlam. So it'll be interesting to see what they actually do there and how they go about it. So yeah. Otherwise, folks, watch The Boys. It's really raunchy, really dirty this season, but it has been really good. And of course, the show Evil on Paramount Plus has also been extremely good. And unfortunately, right now they're saying it's canceled after the season unless it's picked up by another streamer. But they at least get to tie up the story from what I've been told. So we'll see how that plays out. Otherwise, keep watching wrestling. Buy my book. Again, my book right here. Just search on Amazon for Rob Pochak. It should be the very first thing that pops up. It is a paperback. It is $9.99. The next couple days, if you have a Kindle, you'll probably be able to buy the ebook version. And who knows, maybe at some point I'll do an Audible version of it if it actually sells well. So with that said, everybody, I am going to call it a night. Tina would always say, buy our shit. You can find me on Twitter at Pochak. You can find me on Instagram at Rob Pochak and Rob Potsy Pochak. You can find me on TikTok and Twitch at Rob Potsy Pochak. And of course, we ask that you like and subscribe to the show here on YouTube, Rob Pochak. Tino stuff is SC Tino, Tino Gray Music on TikTok, and HootieFan91 on the Twitter. Yeah, that's about it. Our theme song, as always, brought to you by Adam's House Cat. Tino likes to say 99, so of course you can get it on iTunes for 99 cents. And folks, with that, I am going to bid you adieu, but not like Kenny Omega. I'm just going to say it and say have a great week, and we'll see you next time.